If confidence feels like it disappears the second life gets uncomfortable, the issue has nothing to do with personality. You have to recognize that confidence is built from specific ingredients, and the sad truth is most women were not taught these ingredients growing up. This video is the ultimate confidence system that helps confidence become stable instead of seasonal. So let's talk about it. Confidence is built through repeatable action, predictable standards, and evidence that proves capability over time. So the mere fact of you showing up for yourself every single day, of you doing the work internally, of you setting standards and belief systems, and then proving to yourself that you are following it through real life experiences will change the game. So let's talk about why confidence feels unstable for many women. Confidence often feels unstable because it feels like an unrealistic thing that you're constantly trying to chase instead of something you are building. So it's this turbulent phase where some days many women feel confident, they feel I'm that girl, right? And then other days they feel like absolute crap internally and physically. And then that one criticism, that one rejection changes everything. It messes up their day. They now do not feel good in themselves internally or physically, and they just lack that ultimate self-esteem that they deserve to have. And what happens, this is a pattern that repeats over and over again, which impacts their belief system and their self-concept. So they'll start to believe that confidence is something outside of their control. It's this unattainable goal that they're constantly striving for, but they will never receive. You have to understand that confidence is something that needs to be constructed. It needs to have a fine line between a delusional amount of self-belief, building self-trust through, doing habits that you don't really feel like doing, looking your best, because we're not going to sit here and say that looks do not matter. Looks matter, but at the end of the day, the reason why they matter is not just for external validation, but because it makes you feel good. When you feel good, you operate from your highest frequency, and this is what we want because this materializes our desired reality. I want to share with you guys how confidence is built through research-based articles. So according to the internet, confidence is closely linked to self-efficacy, which is a person's belief in their ability to show up and handle tasks and different situations. Albert Bandura's work explains 4 main sources. First being mastery experiences. This means successfully doing things. It could be anything, especially things that don't feel good in a moment but gives you a greater reward in the future. Vicarious experiences. This is seeing people like you succeed. Social persuasion, which is basically encouragement and feedback. Psychological or emotional state, how the body interprets stress. The reason why this matters is because it shows that confidence isn't built primarily on thinking. Confidence is built through evidence and interpretation. You see why I'm always screaming collect data, analyze, observe. I'm not just saying it just because it sounds great. I'm saying it because it actually provides you with the tools that you need to be confident, to live your dream life, to act accordingly, to make better decisions, to elevate and actually change your life. The strongest confidence is usually created through mastery experiences, which means confidence grows when action is actually being taken and you actually follow through with things. Now let's get into the confidence system. The confidence system has 5 parts. Each part strengthens a different type of confidence. And when they work together, girl, the game changes because confidence will stop feeling fragile. So number 1, the proof principle. Confidence grows a lot more faster when there is proof. Instead of just saying things, and of course, I'm a big believer of affirmations, don't get it twisted, but you have to actually show up and have evidence. So how do we actually get proof? Proof shows up when we show up for the difficult things. When life gets hard and we're able to handle those hard situations. When we do the things that we don't feel like doing. When you feel like eating a burger and watching Beauty in Black, right? Because you had a long day at work and Sally in the office was pissing you off and being a bitch. You want to go home, eat your burger and sulk, right? But you have a goal of achieving your dream body, which requires you to go to the gym and eat healthy and drink some mint tea and detox. Do you really feel like going to the gym? No. This is real-ish, guys. Like this is what reality is and why so many people struggle. Because yeah, we can talk about all these things, but when you're actually in the emotion and you're feeling it, it's so much harder to do the thing. When you actually decide to go to the gym instead, in spite of how you feel, you are proving to yourself that you are reliable, that you are efficient, you're self-sufficient, that you can trust yourself during hard situations. You're going to show up for yourself, and this builds ultimate, unshakable confidence. Unfortunately, many women wait wait to feel ready when it comes to confidence. They feel like it's a feeling that's gonna come eventually. But the reality is, it starts with you living every day. Living every day, choosing to live life by design, showing up for yourself, regardless of what comes your way, being able to deal with the turbulence of life and manage yourself accordingly. Because this, again, as I said, is gonna build true confidence, not the fake shallow-ish. And so the goal of this, in order to build proof, is to build consistent small wins. Every day that you choose to show up in spite of you not feeling like it, or of you could have decided to do something else, is you really proving to yourself that you are the woman you say you are, because you choose to show up as her. And this is the best thing you can do when you're trying to rebuild your self-concept. One little task that I want to give you is to choose one habit that you can consistently do every single day for 2 weeks. Let this become part of your routine, right? Something that you struggle with, like you are inconsistent up and down. We're trying to build this as a permanent habit. So let's start 2 weeks. Every day you show up for yourself without fail, regardless of what life throws at you. You are going to show up and do the thing. This will help to provide consistency, and consistency is what's going to allow you to collect data and proof. Number 2, the standards rule. The reality is, confidence becomes unstable when self-respect is inconsistent. Every time you choose not to follow through with the standards that you set up for yourself when it comes to life, when it comes to dating, when it comes to money, when it comes to all these different things, you are showing to yourself that you don't respect yourself. You don't value yourself as a woman, which is why you'll say one thing but do the other. When you're trying to become a confident woman, you have to genuinely create standards that make sense for you based off of your values and morals in life, and do not waver from them. So when that boy is trying to lower your standards, is trying to use manipulation and love bombing and gaslighting into accepting less, you know that in your heart, this is not what you want. But because you're desperate and you're bored, you want to entertain him. No, your standards should be the ultimate. If you can't meet me where I need to be met, you're gone. And it's just that simple. So when boundaries are not enforced, when standards are lowered for attention, or when you choose to give access to people who stress you, your confidence will take a ultimate hit, because the internal message is unclear. You say one thing, but you're allowing tomfoolery. And so self-respect is something that you need to build in order to boost your overall self-confidence. You need to decide what your standards and your boundaries are in different areas of your life. Write it down, like take it old school, get a journal and write it down. Rehearse this over to yourself over and over again, so it's internalized and it's within your subconscious. And while you're living life and practical situations happen and you have to make decisions, you stick to your standards and boundaries, because this shows a high level of self-respect and self-love. It shows what you're not going to tolerate. And what happens is the universe, life and people will start to work around your standards and your boundaries. If you choose to waver from them, if you're inconsistent, if you tolerate certain things when you know it's not what you want to do, everyone will walk all over you and you won't even respect yourself. So what I want you to do is write down some personal, practical standards and boundaries that allows you to protect your peace. It's all about peace protection and self-elevation. So what standards and boundaries can you enforce in order to increase this? The next system is emotional regulation. Your confidence will naturally collapse when you allow emotions to make decisions. When stress rises, you tend to make decisions impulsively. And this is not good, because when you're emotional, when you're angry, when you see red, when you're stressed, you're not thinking from yourself. You're thinking from child or demon, right? You're not thinking from yourself. You see, that's why people are always like, I saw red, I wasn't myself. Yeah, we can't have that. We need to recognize our triggers in different situations. Do this from analyzing and self-reflecting in the past. Situations that we weren't so proud about. But we look back and we recognize, okay, before everything went left, what was it that just made me go from 0 to 100 within 10 seconds? And then we analyze that so we know what specific triggers makes us go. And then we need to combat that by having practical solutions in place where we can create a quick mental action plan when different triggering situations may happen. What can you do to stop the chances of you acting impulsively, of you crashing out, of you getting ready to bust up someone's chin? We don't want that. So this is something you have to really study and analyze. In general, when we act emotionally and we act impulsively and we do things from an irrational place, this lowers our confidence because we feel like we have a lack of control, because it's like allowing emotion emotions that come and go to control what we do in life. And that is not healthy. And so you need to have ultimate control by mastering your emotions, by learning how to regulate, by having different practices, different affirmations, different self-reflection prompts that you can use to manage this, to change this, and to have a true transformation. Because emotional intelligence is an amazing tool that you can use as a woman. And so when you can master this and regulate your emotions, this will build your confidence up, because you'll be like, yeah, I can handle any situation. Like, I'm a boss. I can handle every situation. You can try and trigger me, but it's not gonna work because I already know my triggers. So when you don't even know your triggers, and let's say you go out into the world, whether it's the work environment, it's dating, it's friendship, it's family, when you don't know your triggers, but they know your triggers, you're in a very vulnerable position because they can control you. They know exactly what to say or what to do to bring out that emotion out of you. But when you know your triggers, and let's say even the external outside world knows your triggers, but you know your triggers and you've put practical action and solutions in place to stop your triggers from making you buck someone up, right? Or just crash out. You can walk away quickly. You can stop yourself from that anxious feeling of wanting to just crash out. No, you're gonna think logically now, and this is what we want. And so what I want you to do is introduce an emotional pause for triggering and charged situation. Learn to proactively pause before you react. This is kind of hard, and it's easier said than done because you really have to practice in the moment. But as you affirm, as you're creating your identity, as you're scripting and becoming the woman that you want, you will naturally internalize and train your subconscious to believe that you're a woman who thinks before she speaks, and this is game changing. The fourth confidence system is a growth mindset. When you're always actively learning, you're reading, you're educating yourself, you're investing in yourself, you naturally become more confident in your ability and your intelligence, and this allows you to operate from a higher version in reality, in life, and this is what we want. So always be a woman who's ready to learn. You know, don't be someone who is hard to criticism or constructive criticism, because write out criticism, we're not doing that. But don't be someone who's the smartest in a room or who's unteachable. Like, we don't need that. Yes, you may have finished university and that's it, but life will teach you valuable lessons that university, that secondary school, that high school could never teach you. So always be open to learn, always invest in yourself. Something as simple as a book in an area that you're actually struggling with will change your life. Because once you start investing and you're actually learning, you're reading the concepts, you're taking it in, you're writing it down, you're annotating, true transformation starts to happen. But you have to be open. You have to have this level of, I'm ready to learn. Recognize that what you know, your knowledge, your judgment is what's going to determine the decisions you make. And so the more you're learning, the more informed decisions you can make, and the more you'll trust yourself when it comes to making decisions. I have a video on how to make better decisions as a woman, so do check that out. I'll have it in the cards. And the last confidence system is self-compassion. Confidence often breaks when you create shame. You repeatedly shame yourself. I always say this, I've been saying this for years. This is the first time we're living life. There was no manual book or rule book given to us when we entered the womb. There just wasn't. Of course, we have the Bible, which is a book of life and it's something you should read. We have self-development books. We have content like this. But at the end of the day, we will still make mistakes. I'm not trying to push you to make mistakes, but I'm also trying to say to you to give yourself grace, because at the time you didn't know better. You just had the information in front of you. Of course, now that you know and you've learned lessons, it's okay, because moving forward, you're going to make sure that you don't make the same mistake. But making a mistake or choosing a decision that may have not served the best purpose for you is a part of life, is a part of womanhood, and it's not something we should be shamed for. It's something that we should embrace, but also take lessons from. Like, don't just make a mistake and then do the same mistake or not learn anything from it. That's not someone who's proactive. That's not someone who actually wants to learn. You need to be someone who is able to make a mistake, learn, analyze, collect data, and move on accordingly. And this is why it's so important to instill the habit of self-reflection, and self-reflection often, because the more you self-reflect, the more self-aware you become. The more self-aware you become, the more confident you are, because you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know how to operate accordingly into the world. And that's always important, because that makes you a strategic babe. We need to be strategic babes in this world. If not, people are gonna walk all over us, and I don't want that for us. Okay? No. And so if you've recently experienced a setback, I want you to analyze the situation at hand. I want you to analyze what went right, what went wrong, why do you think it happened, and then give yourself grace. It's okay. These things happen. Life happens. Life is not easy, but you can always restart. You can always reinvent yourself. You just have to keep going and never give up. You can feel sad in a moment, and yes, that small little bitchy voice might still come in your head and be like, see, I told you, you're never gonna make it, never gonna. The key with this mind thing, is thoughts are gonna come, whether positive or negative, but you have to decide that you're not going to entertain it, because if you don't entertain those thoughts, they're just passing thoughts. What thoughts you decide to entertain with your energy, with your emotion, with your visualization, with your imagination is what you start to materialize, because you're giving energy towards it. Energy is one of our biggest assets. So start using your energy on the right thoughts, the thoughts that are going to get you to your desired reality, the thoughts that are going to make you positive. Don't entertain no negative thoughts. All right, guys, that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure you subscribe down below. Check out my level up playbook as well for more in-depth detail on how to truly level up and transform your life and transform quickly. And I'll see you guys very soon. Bye.